Hi, Mrs. Sardina's friends in room 109. I'm just going to have you watch this video before you start today's lessons because I want to show you two things. First off, you're doing some really cool work. I'm enjoying seeing your creativity in the reading lessons we've been presenting to you the past couple of days. But one problem that's occurring is that sometimes your reading assignments, you're starting a new slideshow every day or creating a new slide, and it's not all being put together in your third grade folder. And then once it's in your third grade folder, it also needs to be on your reading slideshow. And some of our work isn't making it there, and so it's all just kind of floating out in my Google Drive, and I have a lot of stuff in my Google Drive, so I'm missing kids' assignments, and then all of a sudden something appears. So if we can just take a little time to watch this video to make sure we're getting it in the right spots, that'll be super helpful in making sure you're getting your dojo points and getting credit for doing some great work. And the second thing I want to show you is I want to give you some tips for using Google Slides and show you some of the amazing things you can do with Google Slides to make your slides more colorful and creative. And I think you'll really enjoy that for some of your upcoming activities, including the one I'm going to show you today for today's actual reading lesson. So let's start. I'm just going to screen share with you. Avery said she would not mind if I shared her work with you. So I'm going to find Avery's third grade slideshow. Anytime you're about to do reading or math work, you want to start by opening your third grade folder. And when in your third grade folder, everybody should look pretty much the same. We see here Avery has her third grade compliments chart. It looks like she hasn't quite started on that yet, but I bet you she'll get started soon. This is her math slideshow. This is her reading, all the work she did during our mystery unit, which we did on a reading doc. Here she started her new reading slideshow, which I'll show you in just a minute. And here's her quarantine challenge. She's gotten a good start and lots of dojo points for some of the work she's been doing in the quarantine challenge. But this is where all of your reading slides should be. I just went through everybody's folder, and everyone has a slideshow that's called Reading Slideshow or Avery's Reading Slides or something like that. That's where each day you're just going to add a new slide for that day's reading assignment. So let's see Avery's so far, because she's got a great start in having these things in the right spot. Loading a little slow today. So the first slide she has in her reading slideshow is her poster that she did the other day. So you can see she did an awesome job with a poster and her tagline and her rating and all of that great stuff. I gave her some comments over here in the comments area. A couple things for her to try to fix, and she totally did those. This is a fantastic job. Then you can see she has lots of slides over here ready to go for all the work she's going to do the rest of the year. Her next slide she did the other day, and she uploaded a picture of the recipe she made and told me that she had made brownies and uploaded a picture. So today's work, she'll go right onto this slide to do today's reading assignment. If you don't have a whole bunch of slides ready to go, remember you just click this plus sign right here, and you will get a new slide that you can create that day's assignment on. Now, one thing I want to show you is, let's say you created something and it's not quite in the right spot. Let me see if I can find an example of something. Oh, I know where I could find one. I noticed that Sonya had this really neat recipe for an energy bowl that she wrote to me about, but it wasn't quite in the right spot, so I didn't see it the other day. But if you have some things and they're not in the right spot, or they're not all on that Google reading slideshow, you can always right click on them, oops, and you'll get things like make a copy or move to, and you can copy and move all of those things onto your reading slideshow to make sure I see them. Move them into your third grade folder and then onto your reading slideshow, and then you'll have a good record of all of the things that you've done. If you're having a hard time doing that, do your best to at least get them in your folder, and then at your folder I'm more likely to see it, but ideally would be great if you got them into your reading slideshow. If you didn't and you can't quite get that done, just make sure that all the work you do from now on is in that reading slideshow in your folder, and you just add a new slide to it each day. Okay? The other thing I want to show you is a few neat things things about Google Slides that maybe you didn't know that will help you to create really interesting, neat, creative Google Slides. Each time you make a new slide, it gives you an option of some format. If you like this idea of having a box here and a box here, great. If you don't, I'm just going to get rid of those by clicking on them and hitting backspace or delete. And it'll get rid of those for me. So I have a nice, clean, white slide ready to go. Now I'm going to show you a few of the tools that are helpful in creating slides from this area right here. First off, I'd like to show you text box. So if I click on text box, I get this plus sign where I can click and drag to make a text box. If I want to fill this whole page with text and typing, I can drag it that big, and that's how big I want my text box to be. If I want a title, I might want my text box more like that, so it's kind of a title. Or maybe I just want a box to the side, so my text box would be like this. I'm going to drag it till it looks like a title for my sample here. And then when I let go, I've got a text box, and you can see the flashing cursor there. It's ready for me to type. So let's say I type Mrs. Sardina's slide. It's not much of a title. It's kind of small in that text box. So what I'm going to do is highlight it. And then here I have some buttons that can help my text to be bigger, bolder, colorful. I can click on this to make it bigger, 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 bigger. And keep clicking on that plus till I get it just the size I want. I can click here to change the font to be a font that I really like. I can click here to make it bold or italic, which means slanted, or underlined. And then if I decide I don't like those, I can click again and it'll take away the underline, or click again and it'll take away the italics. I can choose a color here. Maybe I want my text to be bright blue. Here I can also choose to highlight. Maybe I want to highlight my text in yellow. Or maybe I think, I don't like that. I'm just actually going to do no highlighting. And then when I click away, there's my title on my slide. But there's a couple more things I want to do to it. So I can click again, I can highlight my text, and then here I can choose how to align my text. If I want it on the left-hand side of my text box, if I want it centered in my text box, or if I want it to the right of my text box, the top, the middle, the bottom. I want mine to be in the middle. So I click that, it shifts it right to the middle of my text box. And I also want it at the bottom of my text box. So I slide it to the bottom. Those are some ways that you can organize a title or whatever you put in a text box. Now, if I click away, you'll see that the box goes away from my text box. But maybe I want that box there. If that's the case, then you just have to click on it. And here, these are the options for your text box. Maybe I want my lines to be a little thicker. Right now, the line doesn't show up at all. Maybe I want it to be really thick, so I'll click on this. Oh, that's kind of too thick, so maybe I want it a little smaller. Maybe I want my line style. I can have it solid. I could have a polka dotted line. I could have a dashed line. I could have a dash and dotted line combined. I'm going to do that. And then maybe I want that line to be a color. I want it to be purple. And then I also could take my text box and fill it in with color. This is kind of a paint bucket dumping, filling color into that text box. If I click on that, maybe I want to fill it in with yellow. Now let's see how my text box looks. Kind of crazy, but at least you can see how to do the borders, how you can fill it in with color, how you can do your fonts in different sizes and styles and thicknesses. Now I want to show you a couple more tools you can use. One is this picture. It's got a picture of mountains. It's saying I would like to add a picture to my slide. If I click on that, these top two options are going to be handy. Upload from my computer means I already have a picture on my computer, something that I took maybe with my camera that I want to add to my slide. I think you have done that a little bit already with your math assignments. And here, search the web. This means I want to find a picture from the internet to put on my slide. I'm going to click on that. And let's say I wanted to find a picture of a puppy to add to my slide. I can just type puppy here and enter, and it will search for puppy pictures for me. And you can look at all of these different puppies to decide which one you want. Let's say I like this one. I want to add this to my slide. I click on it. And then I click the word insert. So that means put it onto my slide, please. And there it is. You'll notice there's a box around it that lets me size it in case I want it a much smaller, if I want it much bigger. I'm going to put it about like that. Now I don't have a border on this, but I can use these same border features to add a border. Maybe I want a polka dotted border, a dotted border. Maybe I want it to be this thick. And I want the border to be, we'll say green. Let's see how it looks. If I click off of it, there we go. Maybe I decide I don't really like that green border too much. I wish I would have done a different color. I can click this undo arrow right here and it'll take away the last thing I did. There, it changed it back to gray. And then I could say, all right, instead of green, can you make that border in this light blue color? Okay, I like that better. Or I can just keep hitting undo. And it'll keep taking away my last things I did until that puppy is even gone. And then if I get too many undos, no, too many, I can hit redo, put those back. I didn't mean to do that. And it'll keep adding back to the last thing that I did, which was my blue border. The last thing I want to show you are these line and shape features. I'm only going to show you the line. The shape feature is very similar. If I click on the line, let's say I wanted to make an arrow pointing to this dog, I can make a line, I can make an arrow, I can make these kind of zigzaggy kind of connectors and curved lines. I'm going to draw an arrow. So I want to draw an arrow that goes from here to here, let's say. It's a pretty little skinny arrow. So again, I'm going to make that line thicker. Oh, that's a nice size arrow, but it's not pointing at the dog. It's pointing the wrong way. I can take the edges, so this blue dot here or this blue dot here, and I can spin it around. I can move it. I can spin it so it's pointing at the dog. I can make it longer by dragging. I can make it shorter. So I have it pointing at the dog here. And then maybe I want to add a little text box right next to that arrow that says puppy, so people know what that's pointing at. And I'll make that a little bit bigger. And I'll make it bold. And I don't want a box around it, but I can still click on it and move it just where I want it. Right there. All right, so I want you to take some time today to make sure your reading assignments are in your third grade folder, specifically onto your reading slideshow if you can. And then I just wanted to show you some of those features for using Google Slides because I think it'll come in handy in some of the work we're going to be doing, especially today, your assignment. I think you're going to want to know some of those features. So I hope you've been having a good time with these reading assignments. Next, I would like you to, after you take some time to move your stuff, click on the reading lesson and have fun with the lesson I share with you today.